There's one, right? If there a lot of people leaving,
Yes. Yeah.
they're going to like states like Tennessee. I've heard Arizona's getting a lot of people, and
Phoenix is the fastest growing city in the U.S.
Is it?
They are the fifth largest city, and they were like 11 like 2 years ago.
I was reading that people are going to Tennessee because it's kind of like Florida. I guess it has no state taxable income, or there is. There's a couple other things that a lot of people are attracted to. So they're leaving from California because they have an issue like the tax code or something. They're going to states like Florida and Tennessee for that reason.
Yeah. Lots of people leaving New York and California, either over taxes or over lockdowns or, different types of regulation.
New Jersey, that's another state that might lose some. A lot of people living there, I've heard.
Don't most people living like New Jersey? They're just across the bridge from New York City.
If you're kind of like in like the area of New York City, it's not that hard to drive, but there's one area you can see from like New York City, you can see New Jersey, and vice versa.
Dr. Stacy emailed me. Now I'm having trouble finding it. Oh, that's why.
How many people on your schedule? Is that still? It's gonna be a small class.
There's more than this, but they might be seeing those.
Yeah, Landry's on Zoom. Say hello, Landry. Can you hear me? Andrew just joined us too.
Hey, how you doing?
Good. How's it going?
I'm going pretty good.
Hey, I'm glad you're there. Also, is there a way you can come by the college on Friday? I'm putting together a reading list for you for the Intro to Poli-Sci directed reading thing.
So I would, but I was directly exposed to somebody that has COVID, so I'm quarantining right now.
Okay. I will email you the initial list.
Okay.
I have a book
Okay.
that I want you to have to go through. It would be the textbook that we would be using, but then there's going to be a lot of other stuff that I'm going to want you to read as well. So what I probably will try to do is put together as much as possible is just to put a packet together for you. You'll have that book and then this extra reading in a packet, so you don't have to go out and chase all these books down and everything.
Sweet.
But that will probably be next week before I get that finalized. I'll have the schedule for you later this week or early next week. But then when we need to get together and make sure that you understand everything, and I need to get you that packet. And I can probably scan it and then email it to you.
Okay, sweet. That works out. Yeah, just let me know. Also, thank
Okay.
you again for doing that. I appreciate it.
Okay. That works.
Professor,
Yes,
did you see how Michelle Obama dressed today? She looked like Shaft.
I did not.
You know who Shaft is?
I do know.
She looked just like Shaft.
I have to admit, I am not on the cutting edge of fashion, I shall say.
You know why I think that the Democrats won Arizona? Because there were so many moderate Republicans in Arizona that like loved and was just such a fan of John McCain. They had just voted blue no matter what.
Yeah, I think the McCain family certainly undermined Trump's efforts in that state, right? I mean, they were clearly.
So Kellyanne Conway's husband and her daughter. You know, her daughter changed her name. Yes, her name is now Barton or something like that.
Barton.
And Gabby Gifford's husband ran too, and there's a lot of connections to Gabby Gifford.
Say that again?
Isn't Gabby Gifford, didn't her husband run?
Did he? I think, yes,
Tulsi?
yes.
No, not Tulsi Gabbard. It's the one that was shot.
The one, this was, yeah, she was shot almost a decade ago now. Feels
Yeah, her
like.
and Steve Scalise and a couple others were all shot.
I think he shot it.
Well, she was shot at a different time. She wasn't shot at the
Different
same time he was. She was, somebody just came up and, where was she at?
It wasn't a baseball game, was it?
No, that was
Steve
Scalise.
Scalise.
That's where he was shot at, was they were practicing for the Capitol baseball game.
Mark Kelly, that's his name, the guy that ran. Astronaut or something like that.
You talking about the one who won the congressional district?
Yeah, Arizona that was married to that lady that you see there.
I see Donald Trump's patrician, his position won a congressional spot somehow. I don't understand. What a position.
Say that again, who did?
You know, his position, the one that does all his physicals.
Uh-huh.
Well, he ran for office in Texas for a congressional district and won, like around Houston area. I'm not sure.
I don't know
But
what
I thought it was a little hilarious.
Oh,
Position wanted to be in politics because he knows the president like that.
There's a guy from the WWE that's a mayor in Tennessee.
I can see that Arnold Schwarzenegger. He ran for governor. So did there's a few other WWE people who ran for governor. Just for some type of political.
Kane's
Jesse Ventura, right? Yeah.
Kane's the one that's the current mayor in some Tennessee town right now.
I want to see Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson be governor of California.
Probably could.
I don't know. He's from Florida, and
Is he from Florida?
I don't know if he really is or not. I know he played football at the University of Miami. So, and
He could
actually,
become
he's,
governor of Florida, you know,
you never know.
DeSantis, he's
All right, well, let's get going here. So it doesn't look like we're going to have a full class today, but basically, I'm going to run us through the syllabus, right? First day of class kind of stuff. Answer any questions that you guys might have. For you guys that are on Zoom, I'm going to share my screen here so you can follow along in the syllabus as well. And we'll look at Canvas. The first thing I want to make sure everybody understands, all right, is not everything that will be in Canvas is in Canvas yet, all right? So I am still kind of in the process of building the course out. The first, I think, 4 or 5 weeks of the course is uploaded and in there. And so over the next few weeks, more will be coming as I get that in there. So if you're looking in there and you're like, oh, I wanted to jump ahead and do this assignment and I can't find it, well, that's because I haven't uploaded it yet. So just be patient with me. I will get it up and running and we will get going. But you do have, like I said, the first 4 or 5 weeks worth of materials up and available. So be ready, and you can do that. As we were talking in class before we got started, there is a textbook you can see in the syllabus. There's a link to go and buy it directly from the publisher's site. Do not go to the bookstore. Preston can confirm with you they have the wrong edition there. I don't know why. I updated it a year ago when I got this one. But they still have the wrong edition. So use this link in the syllabus. It takes you directly to the publisher site. You can get it. You can probably by now find a used copy on Amazon or something if you want. If you want a hard copy, you might be able to do it that way too. But the default text is an ebook. And if you go to the publisher site, that's what they'll give you. As you know, there's no functional social sciences building as of yet. We have been told the end of February is when they expect it. I kind of don't expect it much before spring break, if at all before spring break. So if you need to reach me, email is a good way. If you need to have a conversation outside of the classroom, we can schedule a private Zoom session for office hours and do that. Once the social sciences building is up and running again, I'll have my office back and we can meet there if we need to, that kind of thing. So just know we're still going to be doing virtual things for a while. All right, so I want to go over the project. So there is a class project. It's a significant portion of your grade. in the past, I've done this as a group project, but COVID has complicated group projects significantly this year. Both last year's class, I mean, the groups pretty much fell apart. Last semester, in one of our classes, we had trouble coordinating group stuff. Preston was constantly emailing me, these people aren't responding. They're not answering my questions. Right, and so so it is an individual project, okay? However, if a few of you want to get together and work on it jointly, I will allow that, but there's going to be some things that you need to do slightly different, and you're going to want to decide that by the time you submit your project plan, and you're going to have a little bit different project plan than what the individuals will have. All right. So Preston was looking around and noticed that some of the stuff kind of indicated a group project thing. That's because probably in revising this, I missed a couple of things. It is designed to be an individual project. All right. So keep that in mind. This really is, for me, this is the centerpiece of this is where you're actually going to learn state government, is this project, right? Yeah, I'm going to lecture. Yes, we're going to have quizzes. Yes, we're going to go through the textbook. But to me, this is how you're going to learn state government. And not only how you're going to learn it, how you're going to actually interact with people within state government, and how you can have an impact on an outcome in state government all through this project. So take it seriously and focus on it and do a good job. It's got several pieces, okay? But some of them work together. As you're completing one, you'll be able to complete the other, okay? And just, follow the instructions that are there. Some of these will not have specific instruction sheets because by the time you get to them, you should know how to do it, okay? But the first thing that you're going to want to do is fill out that project plan. That's going to tell me some important things about how you're going to approach this, right? So your project plan, you need to pick a public policy issue related to state government. So national defense is not on the table. For the most part, immigration is probably not going to be on the table. International trade is not going to be on the table. So all these things that the national government's dealing with, put that off. You need to be focused on stuff that state governments deal with, and specifically the state of Oklahoma. But that can still be state taxes, education. That's a huge one, obviously. Healthcare can be a state thing too. Yeah.
Can it be something like the Native Americans?
Can be tribal relations, certainly.
50% of our state belong to Native Americans?
Not quite 50%. No, what they did is they gave them jurisdiction over certain criminal and legal issues within a particular area, right? So, and we'll talk about this more. That was the McGirt decision. We'll talk about this more when we talk about tribal relationships with the state. But yeah, anything dealing with what you want to focus on, though, is not exclusively the tribes. You want to focus on their relationship to the state government, right? How do those governments interact? Okay. But that's certainly a legitimate policy issue, okay? Because there's conflict there. There's cooperation as well. So you can kind of choose which avenue you want to approach.
We have a few Supreme Court cases that involve the tribes in our government.
Yeah.
Like the casinos.
Yeah. And if you want to focus on some of those, you certainly can. Okay. But it's not just that policy issue. Once you've identified that policy issue, you're going to want to go out and find current proposed legislation. So something that's been authored in the legislature this year that is relevant to that policy issue and talk about it, right? So and there will be, on all of this stuff, there will be legislation out there. So that's going to be the second piece of that plan, is identify, and it may be one bill, it may be 2 or 3 bills, right, that relate to your area of investigation, okay? So you're going to want to include that in there. So you're going to have to look up this stuff, right? And there is next week, next Monday, I will give you guys a link to go to the state legislative website. And there's a way you can register to get notifications of legislation as it's progressing related to different subject matter areas. So you can kind of track it, okay? But you're going to want to do that you're going to want to give me, part of your project is going to be conducting some interviews. And you're going to need to give me some idea of the types of people you would like to interview for these different pieces of the project in that plan, okay? Now, interviews can take place in person. They can take place via Zoom. They can take place via email. They can take place over the phone, right? But for what I'm calling in the project, the expert interviews, they need to have a transcript. So you need to be writing, some way of recording and transcribing the conversation that you have, specifically the questions that you asked and the answers that you got, all right? So now if you do an interview by email, that's easy enough, right? You will already have all of that packed in. If you do it some other way, you might want to either record it and then transcribe it later, or take really, really good notes during the conversation, all right? Because you'll need to provide all of that. Yeah.
This stuff like that, as we get to different science, we'll be touching on quite a bit in class, or like talking about and stuff as we get towards it.
Oh, the project?
Yeah, like are we going to be talking about a lot in class and stuff?
Yeah. In fact, there are specific days assigned that will just be class project days. And those may be days that we're in class and we're working on it, or maybe days that we're like, hey, you need to be out at the legislature to interact with some folks out there, go out there for class that day, right? So, but yes, we'll be working on it and touching on a bunch of this stuff during class.
Saw the interviews in the paper, and I was like, uh-oh, I'm getting some stress now.
No. Don't stress about it. Just keep on top of it. You're going to want to meet with the bill's author, and there's a worksheet or kind of a thing to do that with, where you sit down and you talk to them. So once you found a bill that's related to your topic, you're going to want to set up a meeting with the legislator who authored it, right? And again, that can be any of those forms that we discussed, in person, via Zoom, however, okay? But you're going to want to find out, why did they author this bill? What's the purpose of it, right? What research did they do in preparing the bill, right? What did they do to find out that this was a problem and they had a solution for the problem, or whatever? You're going to want to find out what committee it's been assigned to. And if you can, I highly recommend you attending the committee meeting where the bill is discussed. It's a great way of getting some information and finding out how that process works. Yeah.
You usually have a lot of success rate of getting people to like reply to you, because I mean I'm still waiting for Mark Twain Mullen to reply to me from last spring.
Okay, so first thing, state legislators are much more responsive than members of Congress are. And so, yes, you should get a reply pretty quickly. Now, the key here, though, is you've got to make it clear to them why they should reply to you, okay? If you're their constituent, they have a built-in reason to reply to you. If you're not their constituent, then you've got to really hone in on, I'm really interested in this bill, I'm doing a project on it, and I need some information and would like to know more about it, okay? And sometimes you can get that from their legislative assistant as well. So some of that information that you want is there, but you really want to try to meet with the legislator to get most of this. You want to find out, has anybody signed on as a co-author, right? Do they have other members of the legislature like, I will put my name to this bill because I really like it, right? Yeah.
So if you're like trying to appeal to them, like, let's say, because I'm from Norwich, so if I were talking like Stanbridge, to appeal to him, I could say like, I voted for you, so they wouldn't have the radical agenda of the flag climbing or pole climbing member challenging him. Would that be something like would appeal to him, or should I like?
I would just say two things. I would say I am your constituent. That is all you really need to say to get them to respond. And two, if you want to mention I'm your constituent and I voted for you in the last election, that'll probably get their attention
I
too.
don't want to
Yeah.
sound like to them like a suck up if I say also at college. Then they're gonna be
Yeah.
you're also doing some assignments.
Yeah. Try not to present this as I'm doing this just to get points on an assignment, because then you drop down to the priority list of who they're going to talk to, right? But if you're their constituent, they'll still make time for you even in that scenario. Okay, so that's kind of a key. Now, sometimes you won't, sometimes your legislation that you're looking at isn't going to be authored by someone who directly represents you. Then you're trying to gather information about this bill. You're interested in it. You'd like to know more about it, and they'll probably respond. Most legislators are pretty responsive today.
Just don't talk to the ones that have an office at the state that actually work in DC.
Yeah, if you are trying to reach a member of the U.S. House or U.S. Senate, which in this class that would be irrelevant because you're not dealing with those folks. But yeah, it's harder to get into them. It's harder to meet with them. It's harder to get them a reply back. All of that, just because you're one of many more thousand than you are with your state rep or state senator. Yeah. Okay, so you're going to want to do that. You're also going to want, in addition to that, to build a page in here that tells me about the bill's author, right? Who are they? How long have they been in their chamber? What committees are they on? This kind of stuff, okay? That's part of it. You're going to put together a bill. I've got a bill tracking worksheet for you. So for every bill that you're looking at, again, if you just have one that you're exploring, you'll fill this worksheet out for that one. If you've got 2 or 3, you need one for each bill that you're doing, okay? But it'll help you follow the progress that bill's making. For some of you, your bill will die, pretty quickly. That's okay, okay? You can still do the project and you can still include it. If you're doing more than one bill, obviously maybe one of the 2 or 3 will make it through, but track that bill worksheet, let us know what's going on. And part of this project should be, once you know what committee it's been assigned to, is contacting the committee chair, the committee staff, and asking them, has it been scheduled for a hearing? Is it going to be considered, this kind of thing? And if it's not, finding out why. Yeah.
Is there any people you can think of that off the top of your head they're kind of unapproachable or shouldn't approach that won't be like as acceptable to us?
The higher up the food chain, the harder it's going to be to get in, right? So if you're wanting to get in to see the speaker, you're going to have a lot harder time than you are just a regular member of the state house, right? Or the Senate Pro Tem. Some of the committee chairs will be harder to reach than others.
So
Okay.
I probably couldn't get a hold of my
You might be able to, right? It just depends. But as a statewide official, yeah, he's going to be in that same class as like the congressman or whatnot. He's just going to have many more people trying to vie for his time and attention as well. So it can be harder, but not impossible. But certainly not impossible, right? Especially in given how you approach it. And so if you're like, hey, I really want to talk to this person about this, that might be a time before you just go off and do it. We sit down and say, okay, what's the best way of approaching it? What's the best way of getting into them or reaching out to them and just seeing what happens? Okay. You're going to craft some documents. So you're going to put together a letter to elected officials. So part of this process is going to be, once you've looked at this legislation, deciding, do you like it? Do you not like it? Right. And then part of your project is going to be putting together some communication things that express why you think people should support it or why they should oppose it. Okay. And so your letter to the elected officials, the first place you're going to send that to are the committee chairs, or not the committee chairs, but the committee members, right? So I've looked at this legislation. I've talked to the bill's author. I've probably talked to an interest group that's either supporting it or opposing it or both, right? Maybe I've done an interview. and I want to express my support for the legislation. So you're going to craft a letter and you're going to send it to the members of that committee that's going to be considering it, right? And in addition to that, if they're not on that committee, you'll want to send it to, say, the representative or the senator that represents you. So in your case, Stanridge, right? If he's not on the committee already, then you send him a separate letter saying, I want you to support this or oppose it, okay? Same thing with a letter to the editor. So now remember, a letter to the editor is not really a letter to a person. It is an opportunity for you to speak your opinion on a specific topic and try to get it published in a generally a newspaper, but other types of publications as well, where it will reach a broader audience than you could on your own, right? So the best way to look at and to get a feel for what kind of letters to the editor get published is to read some. Right? So go to the Oklahoman or the Tulsa World or the USA Today and read the kind of letters that they publish and get a feel for how long should they be, what kind of topics are they talking about, how do they put the things together, right? That type of thing. So you're going to want one of those two that you're going to send to a publication in Oklahoma. It can be a newspaper like the Oklahoman or the Tulsa World. It can be an online publication like NonDoc or the Oklahoma Watch, something like that, okay? But the goal is to write it well enough that they'll publish it and it'll reach a larger audience, right? Yeah.
So you can use like something like non-doc where it's not like your grandparents are gonna read it and have a heart attack about your political opinions.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can. You can. But you never know. Grandma and grandpa might come across non-doc too. You just got to be careful, right? You're going to put a media briefing document together that's going to basically do the same thing. It's going to be, ideally, your document will be one page and it'll be bullet points. Here's the legislation. Here's what it does. Here's why I'm a supportive or opposed to it. And you're going to send it out to the Capitol reporters that are out there, okay? Which means, especially when we go out there I plan on us going out there for the State of the State address. One of the things that we'll try to do while we're out there is touch base with many of the reporters that are out there and introduce you to them. We'll try to get contact information so when you go to do that, you can send it to them.
That is like suit tie style stuff.
Ideally, you don't have to have a tie, but dress well, right? Don't dress like me today. Okay. I won't dress like me today either. Okay. Let's see. The interest group meeting. So like I said, you're going to want to meet with someone of an interest group that's related to the legislation. Now, when you talk to the author, that's one of the things you'll find out is, are there any interest groups that are supporting or opposing this legislation, or that you expect to support or oppose it, right? That gives you a key as to who should I go talk to in these interest group meetings, right? And if they say, oh yeah, Oklahoma Policy Institute, they're not going to like this and they're going to be opposed to it. Well, then I've got one group where, oh yeah, Oklahoma Council of Public Affairs, they're on top of this and they will they'll be supporting it, and then you got another place to go to, right? So think about that. And it won't, sometimes it'll be those kind of ideological groups. Sometimes it'll be like a trade association. So it's a bill dealing with home building, right? So the State Home Builders Association will be either supportive or opposing it, that kind of thing. So just depending on what you choose. Let's see, we've already talked about the expert interview. Just make sure, right? So on the interviews, there's two pieces. There's two interviews you need to conduct, two expert interviews, and there are two pieces to each interview. The first piece is the proposal, right? You need to send to me, here's the specific person. So in your plan, you're just going to give me types of people. I want to interview, if it's about a Native American issue, I want to interview the chief counsel of the Chickasaw Nation, right? Or I want to interview the chief of the Choctaw Nation or whatever, okay? Kinds of people that you would ask. In the interview proposal, now you're getting specific. Here is the name of the individual I plan on interviewing, right? And here's their contact information. And here are the specific questions I plan on asking them, right? So that's in the proposal, and you'll send that to me before you ever conduct the interview. If I don't get a proposal from you, I won't accept the interview. Okay, so make sure that you do that, right? For both of your expert interviews. Think and be thinking, again, I use this example because it's one that I can identify with, right? If your issue's taxes, your Uncle Bob who rants and raves about taxes is not an expert, okay? A CPA would be an expert, right? A financial planner would be an expert, an economics economist of some sort, or economics professor, or political science professor. Those would count as experts. But my crazy Uncle Joe, who just won't shut up about it, not an expert. All right, so that'll be key too. That's why I have you do the proposal so we can vet who we're looking at. Yeah.
All these proposals that come after we've already like been the capital technically, right, and like found stuff to work on.
Yeah, nothing. I don't think anything's due. Let's look at the on the project. Let's see when your plan is due. All right, so yeah, so your project plan won't even be due until we've already been to the state capitol once.
Everything.
When is the status of?
The state of the state is going to be February 1st. Yeah. Now, you don't have to wait, right? So again, you've got access to all of this documents and stuff. You can start working on this now. But yes, if you're like, I'd really like to be out at the state capitol at least once before we'll be out there. Plan out.
Do it outside or inside the chamber?
We won't be able to be in the chamber, I don't think. I'm going to work on that, but I think I talked to my representative last week, and he told me that he thought they were going to be really tight about who they allowed into the chamber for it. But they will have, he called it overflow areas where you can watch it on video while you're out there. So for the actual speech, that's probably where we'll be. Well, before and after, we'll be meeting with different people, right? So the first thing we'll try to do is hit everyone's representative and senator's offices, right? So we'll introduce you to them, or at least to their legislative assistant, get their contact information, make sure that they know when you show up at their office, why you're showing up, that kind of thing, all right? Yes.
So if we're like new to this stuff about talking to legislators and senators, are we gonna like go over anything of like how to like, not like etiquette obviously, but like what to like say to them that interests them before all this? I don't want to sound like a dumb butt talking to them. Waste their time. Like you're some stupid kid from our state.
I tell you what, on Monday of this week, let me look at my schedule again here.
I respect them. I don't want to waste their time, so I just don't like what I would say to like not.
Yeah, on Monday this week of next week, I'll spend a little bit of time and we'll talk about approaching them or whatnot. But I will say this: if you get in good with their legislative aides, that's going to grease wheels for you. Okay, if you know who their legislative assistant is, if they like you, if you are respectful to them, you know, they will make things happen for you with that legislator. Okay. Yeah, you know, bring them, you know, depending on who it is, you know, bring them some chocolates, or bring them, you know, if it was me, bring me some chocolate chip cookies, or, you know, something like that. So whatever it takes, right? But yeah, but we'll spend some time on next Monday just talking about effective ways of communicating with them. The biggest thing is don't be intimidated by them. All right. Most of these folks, listen, especially at the state legislature, most of these folks aren't really that different from you. They just happen to stumble into an opportunity to get elected. They almost all have their own jobs back home. most of them that work, in the metro area are going to be going home at night and being with their family, taking kids to school, all of that kind of stuff, right? So they haven't had their ego stroked like members of the U.S. House or U.S. Senate have, and that kind of thing. So don't be intimidated by them, and be respectful to them. And that's really the biggest key, right? Is if you can do those two things, you'll probably get what you need out of them.
You frequently see like Stitt or Lincoln and in the distance doing stuff like in the Capitol when you're walking around.
You can at different times, right? I don't know what Langford, Langford's had a pretty rocky relationship with the legislature over the last year. So this year, if he's thinking smart, he would probably spend some time out there just trying to. Now his office is there in the same building, right? So the governor's office is on the second floor of the Capitol, if I remember right, and the House chambers are on the fourth floor, the fourth and fifth floor, and the House offices and Senate offices are on the fourth and fifth floor. So in the same building. So yeah, it's very likely that you could see him out there. Yeah. Okay, back to the project here for a second. All right, this summary. Now, don't freak out. It says a 7 to 10 page summary, but most of that you will have completed in doing all these other pieces of the project, right? The summary is just kind of tying it all together, all right? And explaining what they do. The most complicated piece of the summary is going to be that literature review. By now, hopefully you've done a literature review at least once. It doesn't have to be super extensive, okay? You're not writing a journal article even, but you need to find some academic articles related to your topic that can inform you on the issue, okay? And I would start, the Oklahoma Political Science Association has its own academic journal that is focused quite a bit on state-related policies and things. That's a good place to start and look at, okay? And then you go from there. So do that. But yeah, in completing all of this other stuff, you're going to have all the basic elements for your summary. And now it's just smoothing it, synthesizing things, giving a nice narrative to it, and explaining what came out of it, right? Your summary should also include your project analysis. They're listed as two different things. The project analysis is just part of the summary, which is going to tell me, how did doing this project impact your understanding of state government, the ease or difficulty of interacting with state officials, all of that kind of stuff, right? That should all be part of the summary, even though it's listed as a separate item, okay? And then you're going to make a presentation at the end. That's your final exam, is your presentation, okay? You're going to make a presentation either here in class or via Zoom and tell us, here's what I did. And you're not going to have, listen, the presentation is going to be 5 to 7 minutes, probably maximum. So you're not going to have time to give me every single detail of your project in that presentation. You need to focus on the important stuff, okay? But you're going to make a presentation, so you need to put some slides together. So let me give you an idea on slides. Don't fill them up with a bunch of text, all right? Don't cram this full of just words and words and words, right? Images that conjure up ideas that lead to the text, that's good stuff, right? And the more kind of creative you can be, and not just wander off the farm, so to speak, but the more creative you can be in your slides, the better. But if you just have a bunch of slides with a bunch of words on them, we're all going to fall asleep. That's not good, okay? All right, so that's the project. I am here to help you, okay? So as you're getting into this, if you're running into what's the best way of approaching this, or how do I do that, or whatever, that's what I'm here for. This is not, here it is, good luck, I'll see you at the end of the semester, okay? If we need to take class time and talk about stuff, we'll take class time to talk about it. If we need to visit, individually, we'll do whatever we need to do But I really want you to use this project as your primary learning instrument about state government. That's how I view it, okay? It's one thing to read about it. It's one thing to write a research paper about it. It's a whole different thing to actually engage with it. And this project is designed to get you engaged with state government, okay? So take it and run with it, right? Make it yours in whatever way. And you think of me as a resource for helping you be successful in it, okay? All right, so that's the project. Everything else is pretty basic stuff. You're gonna have a weekly quiz over whatever material we're covering. So starting next week, we will have, we'll be into chapter 1, I think, of the textbook, looking at the state constitution. There'll be a quiz over that at the end of the week, okay? Every week will be like that from then on out. There are some Ask the Expert assignments. You may have already done these in another class. If not, good. If you have, sorry, you're going to do them again. All right. I like them, and I'm trying to revise some of them, but I haven't got to my interviews scheduled yet. Applying it exercises, those are going to be basically, it's going to refer you to a passage in the textbook. It's going to say, read this information, then you're going to take a short quiz over it. All right. Pretty simple stuff, but it gets you more engaged with the material, and some of them. So like I just wrapped up the last one for week 5, I think, when we're looking at interest groups and such. Bunch of charts and graphs in that one, and that applying it exercise is going to have you going through that stuff, right? It's going to be, you're going to be looking at these charts and tables of interest group giving to candidates and who they gave to, how much they gave, all of this kind of stuff. So that's what those kind of are, right? Is they're just going to take you to the textbook and dive a little bit more deeply into particular pieces of it, okay? You don't have to do them from, right? So there's no time limit on those assignments, so you can open them up, you can get your textbook, you can find the material, and as you're going through the material, answer the questions. I mean, that's literally how you should do them, okay? The quizzes, what I call the chapter quizzes, you do have 3 attempts for each one. Just remember, it's going to average the scores of your attempts. So, and there are 2 unit tests. So basically a midterm and a final, but I don't look at them that way. It's not really a final in the sense it's not comprehensive. But you get 2 attempts for the tests, and it'll average your scores there too. All right. Not my generation. You've seen these before. So, just it's a discussion thing. You're going to post, you see you watch the program, then you make what I call a thoughtful reply. If you're wondering what a thoughtful reply is, go back up here. I think I missed that here. Yes. All right. So class activities. So normally in a normal class, I would have designated classes where we do a group activity in the classroom. Given COVID situation right now, that's not as possible. So I've moved these to the discussion forum. Yeah.
Are you trying to show us something? I don't think your screen is moving. No.
I keep forgetting that. Boom. There it is. Now you can see it. Yes. What the heck? Please. Thank you. All right. Now you can see it. Okay. So for the class activities, these are discussion activities. To get the total credit for them, you have to not just post your reply to the question or the prompt, but you've got to respond to the original post of 2 classmates, okay? And that response has to be a thoughtful reply. Keep that phrase in your head, a thoughtful reply. So just putting, oh, I agree with what you said, is not a thoughtful reply. It will not get you any points, right? Or conversely, I think that's the dumbest thing I've ever read. That won't get you any points either, okay? Unless you follow it up with, and here's why, okay? And don't be rude anyway. But I have a whole paragraph here. It explains what a thoughtful reply is, what kind of things I'm looking for in a thoughtful reply. You need to meet that to get those points, all right? But there's two pieces, your response and then your reply to two other students' responses, okay? All right, let's see if there's anything else in here. Don't ask for late work. There is no such thing as late work. Don't expect it to be any late work, okay? Classroom behavior, you're all good students, but read that, right? No holding hands in class, no kissing on each other, no horseplay, right? All right, okay, points, right? How do I know if I get an A, B, or C? It's all about points, okay? How many points do you earn? These are the number. This is the magic number if you want an A, B, or C, or if you're just worried about passing, okay? Keep in mind, Canvas does not do any kind of grade system that just allows you to track points, right? It will track your points, but again, if you go into Canvas and you're looking at your grades, it'll have the list of all the assignments. It'll have a list of what you've done. It'll have your scores for what you've done. And go down to the bottom, and it's going to give you three numbers, right? It's going to give you a number, then a slash, then a number, and then it's going to give you a percentage, right? Isn't that right? I'm sure that's right. So in this sense, the only number that matters is the number before the slash, right? That's how many points you earn. And that's the only number that matters in this course regarding your grade, okay? Ignore everything else. Keep track, how many points have I earned and how many points do I need to earn, okay? If you do that, you'll be just fine. Ignore the percentage, it's irrelevant, okay? It's just the number of points. So keep that there, and then just decide how you're going to get those points. There are more points available than you need, so you don't have to do every assignment to get to where you want to be. But the more assignments you do, the greater possibility you'll get where you want to be. All right, let's see. Anything else in here that I need to cover? I don't think so. Course calendar, you've seen these before. Everything's on there. I did not do the poll everywhere activity, so we'll do that next Monday, and I'll get that up. Those are little things that they're like online surveys, right? So I'll have a question, I'll be up here, you'll text or you'll use your laptop or your phone to give your response. We'll see the overall responses in real time show up, and then we'll talk about it a little bit, okay? And for those of you that are on Zoom, you'll be able to go online and do it too, so don't worry about that. But that's what they are, right? Is they keep us, and they're just a good way of starting a conversation about whatever material we're covering. All right, any questions? Anything that I haven't covered that you need to know about? Anything of interest? Anything at all? Don't let this project intimidate you. I mean, it's going to be work, but it's not work you can't do, okay? And like I said, I'm here to help you do it. Okay, I'm here to work with you and make sure you can successfully complete it. So, for those of you that, ran into some rough experiences last semester or before in the group projects, you can do it all on your own. You don't got to rely on anybody else for anything. Okay, and that's not a problem. Let me do this real quick because I didn't do this earlier. I got to take attendance because they're scared that, let's see, I got Emilio on the second. Well, I'll put him right. 1, 2, 3, right? Got Emilio there. And I got Preston up here. Yeah, what you got?
I was wondering if I can rewrite down some of those three franchises.
What?
It has to do with my schedule.
What? Yeah, we're not going to cover any actual material in class today. So if you got to go, go ahead. And we're going to be getting out of here shortly anyway. So, all right. So I got them, and then I got to go get my list. And I got Andrew here, and I got where is he? Landry here also. Okay. Anybody I missed? Anybody else on Zoom that I didn't see? No, just got those two. Okay. So bottom line, we'll get through this. I hope you will actually find it enjoyable as you get into it and you start digging into this stuff, right? The project, you should think of the project as a hands-on application of stuff that you've already been learning, right? And focused on the state legislature. And it really is an opportunity for you, even as a student, to impact public policy in some small way, right? Because you're going to be trying to influence people, and you never know. Some of you guys will do a really good job and find yourself being offered an internship by somebody, or being offered, being quoted in a newspaper or some other publication on this particular issue or that kind of thing. So you don't know what will happen out of this, but take it as an opportunity to really, really get some hands-on experience in government, as opposed to just reading about it and doing research about it. And that's how I want you to consider it. It can be, it just depends, right? So it depends on the issue, it depends on who you interact with. But I've had some students who have had the ability, they've developed some relationships during the project, and somebody said, hey, you want to do this? And you'll run into a variety of lobbyists out there that sometimes I've had lobbyists contact me and say, hey, do you have any students that would be interested in working on this kind of project? Or do you have this kind of a student who has these kind of skills to do this? So there's not a shortage of opportunities out there to build connections that will last beyond this course, right? You just got to take them as they show up. Okay, and I will be on classes that we have designated as class project days. On many of those, I will be out at the state capitol too. So if you're out there and you're running into trouble, or you can't quite find something, you can always, track me down and say, hey, can you help me do this? Now, I have to teach, so, I might not get out there until our class time would be out there. So, but still, I'll be out there for a portion of those days too. So we'll get it. But the real key to that, to getting the information you need, is, like I said, if you get in tight with those legislative assistants, they will be your best friend out there, and they will, if you need to meet with the representative or senator, they will make that happen. If you need specific information about a committee hearing or something like that, they will help make sure you get that. They are excellent resources, and it doesn't take a lot for them to want to help you. Okay. All right, any other questions? If not, we're going to wrap up and get out of here a little early today. This will not be the usual case.
When's the first day that we're going to the Capitol?
My plan is for us to go out there on February 1st.
Okay. So
That's the State of the State address. And it's the best opportunity, I think, to introduce everybody to the folks that they're going to be interacting with out there. Usually we're able to visit with some Capitol reporters, with a couple of lobbyists. Like I said, I usually take everybody around to their specific senator and representatives' offices. And that's facilitated by you guys finding out who those people are, right? So you can do that, by the way, by going to the state legislature's website. Let me do this. And I'll show that to you real quick. But it has a little mechanism that says find your representative. So let's go to okay. So right there, I mean, it's the first thing. Let me pull this up for you, Landry, or Preston, so you can see that too. So see, you can go here, just exit out of that. And it says find my legislator. So you type in your address and all of that, and you hit submit. So we can do that. come back here. Why are you not working?
All right, I think I figured it out. Sweet.
All right, and then you hit, yeah, and then it should just bring it up. I'll do it over here, right? So, oh, and look, it gives me all sorts of stuff. So there are my U.S. senators, my U.S. representative, my state senator, and my state rep, right? So if you have those names, right, then you can go and look them up in their thing. So we can go back to here, and I can go to representatives, and now I can go find Mr. Fugate, right? And it'll tell me his office, right, where his office is. So if you have that information when we go out there, it just makes it a little bit easier finding them, right? We're not having that. So I would say before February 1st, go do this, right? And let me, have you done this before? No, let's see, where is it? Find my legislator, yeah. If I could spell. But yeah, so if you can do that for me, that'll just facilitate the ability to find these folks. Okay, so we'll go to each of these folks' offices. We will go to we'll run into some lobbyists, or I'll make some appointments to visit with some lobbyists. There'll be some Capitol reporters out there. I'll introduce you to some of those folks as well. So it'll be a day of just running into a lot of people. Plus, we'll spend a couple hours listening to the governor give his spiel as well. All right.
Making it onto the news.
What's that?
So you're gonna make it onto the news?
You might. You never know, right? And like we said, dress appropriately. You don't have to be in a suit and tie, but you know, don't dress like you're just coming out of the gym either. Okay, that would be good. Any other questions? And I am going to try to I'll see if we can get a van or a bus where we can all, you know, we could meet here at the school and go out together and come back. Some people's schedules won't allow them to do that. They need to leave earlier than what I will be leaving, or they need to get out there, or they can't get out there as soon as we are. So if you can't, that's okay. But that seemed to work pretty well, is to go out there together and just kind of hang out for the day. So I would, if you can, arrange it to just basically say, I'm going to be here all day. That'll be best. Yeah.
What are the time frames we're usually there for until?
So we'll try to get there somewhere before 9 o'clock or right at 9 o'clock. And then probably leave that afternoon sometime between 3 and 4 is what I expect. Yeah. And again, if you can't be out there that whole time, that is okay. If you can just come out there for part of that time, I think it'll be productive for you. Okay. But just let me know. And I'm going to reach out to the facilities folks and see if we can't get a big van to drive out there in.
Do they allow phones, or like do people frequently get pictures of the representatives and stuff?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. We took the last semester, we got lots of different pictures while we were out there. So it worked out just dandy. And who knows, maybe we'll even run into the governor or somebody too. All right. If you guys don't have any other questions, I'm going to go ahead and let you out of here a little early today. Like I said, next week we're going to be jumping into the Oklahoma Constitution. If you don't know anything about it, here's a good chance to learn a little bit. It is a unique document, to say the least. And we'll be exploring that. So be ready to talk about the state constitution, and we'll get rolling. Any other questions before I let you go? No? All right. I'll see you guys on Monday. Have a great rest of your week.
You too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You too. All right. Take care.